Good to finally have you on, man.
Yeah, man. Sorry, it's been hard to get each other, eh?
Yeah, it's all right. It happens. We get busy with life sometimes, it's hard to always be on our phones and that. You're a busy man, so I understand.
I'm pretty busy at the moment, man. Yeah, but I've been wanting to make time for this for a while, so it's good to finally be on here and chat with you.
No, I really, really appreciate it, man. It's been awesome. Like after, I think I remember I started following you. I saw you at uh in 2021, and I saw
Yeah.
you working with Dean and that, and I was like really blown away. I was like, fuck, man, he's a good classic physique competitor. And then heading into last year's shows, like the improvements that you made, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. And then starting this all up and that, I was like, man, I'd love to, after the stage show, I was like, man, I want to get him on, have like a little wrap up and talk about the show and that and what the plans
Yeah.
are for nationals. And then time got away from us, but that's all right.
No, exactly. That's it. But yeah, thanks for the follow, dude. It's been great. I've been working with Dean for a little bit now, but yeah, we made some absolutely tremendous progress from when I started with him, from when I did my first IFBB competition in 2018, I think it was, to then 2020 to then 2021. So it's been cool, and it was definitely a good. This run was definitely good, but we have some improvements. So I'm sure we'll probably talk about that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's all right. Well, we'll get straight to it. So pretty much I was just wondering, we'll just kind of start with the most basic thing of what kind of, I guess, how did you find the sport? Where did you kind of start to get involved? Because I also know that you're a coach. So was
yeah,
that kind of what started it, or were you an athlete first?
yeah. So I was always definitely more of an athlete, never a coach. The coaching kind of came along with the passion and just wanting to help others along the way. But if we go back, way back when I was in school, I used to play a lot of football. So I used to play club, school, and then kind of at a state level too. So I played a lot of football, basketball, always kind of involved in sports. And I did a few injuries. Um, the cliche story of the injury, and then you get into the gym and all
Yeah.
the rest of it sort of thing. And I honestly, from the age of probably, and we're talking young, so probably from the age of 14, 15, I got into the gym and I just fell in love with the process of it being you versus you
Yeah.
instead of, waiting on whoever to rock up to football training, or, this person fucked it up in a game scenario and then that ending with the result. I just learned very quickly the amount of effort I was willing to put in was what I was going to get out. So
Yeah.
I loved that. And then I guess the discipline of what it takes to really, be a good bodybuilder, with the nutrition side of things and the training, the scheduling, the prioritizing, the relationships, all that sort of thing, really led into business for me, which helped me build quite a successful personal training business when I was, you know, coming from 17 years old up. So I left school at the end of year 11 and I didn't do,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't do year 12. Got my SACE and everything else, but didn't do year 12, went straight into full-time PT, and started surrounding myself with, quite older individuals, especially than me. And I started learning a lot, maturing a lot faster, maybe than most. And then I got into business quite young. And yeah, pumped out PT, got pretty busy till my books were full. And now I'm just, honestly, now I'm just changing with the way that it's changing to more online sort of stuff,
Yeah.
using my platform a little bit to connect with people around the world rather than just Adelaide, which is where I'm from. And it went from there. But I did a lot of free coaching, a lot of like training my mates, getting this friend bigger, getting this family member leaner, getting, until I kind of found my way. And now there are a lot more resources, and obviously I've upskilled quite a lot in different sort of educational courses and things like
Yeah.
that. But
No, that's cool. It's interesting. There's a few things I want to touch on. Like first being, I like that a lot of people that I've talked to, on here, it's always kind of that same thing. Like you're saying, bodybuilding is one thing that no matter what you do, how much effort you put in, you're gonna get back. I swear it's like the only thing that will reduce that. And like it's just so cool to hear other people. That's why other people fall in love with it. And then you get the added perks of like the discipline and then how you can change that into other aspects of your life.
yeah, for sure.
So with the coaching, so it's really interesting that you didn't, so you left after year 11, didn't finish year 12.
Yeah.
So was it during the gym and the beginning period of after leaving football and that and doing the gym, did you kind of just go, I just want to coach, like, or was there something that you were doing on the side, or was it just that was the first kind of job that you went into?
There was Honestly, it was a bit. To be honest, it started with proving my parents and my family that I could be, oh, that I could just be self sufficient without having to go to uni or anything else.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to. I always hated school. And hate's a strong word, but I really disliked the system and the end result being uni. Otherwise, you're a failure, basically.
Yeah, I get it.
And I hated that whole system. I was never going to go to uni. I didn't like anything, and I was always listening to different sorts of minds and different YouTubers and different. I was always kind of keeping up with, what, the world's changed so much. We can make money so many different ways these days that the older generation kind of are just unaware of, just by simply being good at something and then going all in on that. There's plenty of money to be made and to go around. So I always had confidence where I was going to be. I can't count how many teachers told me I wouldn't be successful, or if I didn't go to uni, then I'm not going to make it, or what's my backup plan after hearing what my first plan was and kind of just not really actually taking into account. So that's where it came from. So I thought, okay, well, I don't want to do year 12. And I really was quite passionate about that. And then my parents were like, okay, cool. And they've always been very supportive. So I'm very grateful I've had supportive parents, because not everyone has. So I'm very grateful and appreciative of the fact that they've always been quite supportive. But they did make me work for it. They said, okay, well, if you're not going to do this, well, then what are you going to do? And prove to us that you're going to do that and you're going to keep yourself accountable without something like a schooling system or whatever. And I guess, my first go-to was, what am I good at? What am I passionate about? Where am I at most hours of the day, which was the gym. And I had already quite a decent little following in Adelaide. People knew who Cam Whitters was, the gym guy. So I didn't think it would be too hard to pick up some clients and maybe start training him. So a little local gym, Pulse, down at Campbelltown, took me on as their first, I completed my Cert 3 in fitness in year 11.
Yeah.
Straight after year 11, I kind of pumped out a full-time 6 months to a year to get my Cert 4 and master trainer. And then I went straight into PT at a local gym in Campbelltown down here called Pulse. And basically just fished for my own clients outside of the gym and brought them in. And then ended up moving into, and at the same time with this, my career goal is to be a professional bodybuilder. So that's really, and that's kind of hard to, see your parents or your peers say, so what are you going to do? Tell us then. And I was like, a professional bodybuilder. Well, what fucking money is that going to make you? So it's kind of like, I just had to go, I'm going to be a trainer and I'm going to be a coach and this and that. While I was working kind of at my own little side hustle, which was the bodybuilding, which was my main focus. And then I guess I just got really good, man. I got really good with working with people. I found that I had a bit of a passion for it, connecting with them, involving myself in their lives and their personal lives, and really bouncing back and seeing that I can get a lot of clients quite easily and maintain them, sustain them. And I became one of the busiest PTs at multiple gyms, because I went from Pulse to Derrimut to another Derrimut, and just built from there. I found it was great to keep me in the gym. To keep me surrounded in that sort of energy, bodybuilders, networking. It allowed me to create my own schedule once I built my rep to a point where I was kind of busy in that demand.
Yeah.
So that was good. It made it easier working around preps, eating, training, free memberships, that sort of thing. So and then like I said, I started slowly converting, doing half kind of one-on-ones, half onlines, building my structures, my systems online, and now I've pretty well got it the other way, which is pretty well full-time online. And I more so coach, I'd say a premium, more select one-on-one. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I think it's awesome to kind of hear. I agree with that. Like, my grandma's like that a lot. Like, she's really like, if you don't go to uni, like, how are you going to make money? How are you going to be successful? Like, I've heard it all the time growing up. And, I went to uni for a bit, and I'm like, similar to you, like, I just didn't like it. I like studying. I enjoy learning things, but I hate the academic assignment and exam side of it. And that what then turns me off of it. So if you were just able to kind of go at your own pace and learn that way, that would be great. But you don't, you have to show their standard of you understanding the content. And so, just like I was like, fuck this, I've had enough. And so, she's always like, oh, but, if you don't go to uni, I went to uni and, I'm really, I've had a successful life. And so it's cool that, you were able to stick to your guns on that and you were able to follow that dream of going, you know what, that's not for me. Because I think sometimes people get stuck in that habit of, because you hear it from all people in your family or people around you, or, it's something that's also driven to you at school. You always, year 12 is preparation for uni. It's not like year 12 is, you're finishing and then you can have fun, or if you want to go to uni, you can. No, this is a preparation year.
Yeah.
So,
And it's almost structured, and it's sad, but it's almost structured in the way that those that don't show, a high number on a piece of paper at the end of the year are kind of the dumber ones, or
yeah.
the ones that aren't going to be as successful, or aren't going to get an as high paying job. Or it's like, then you got your mates that the tradies, and they're kind of stigmatized now as the tradie group. They're like, oh, they're never good academically. And it's shit in that sense, because a lot of, I make more than my teacher now does.
Yeah.
And it's like, they were the ones telling me to go do a 5-year degree so then I could be successful, rather than encouraging maybe something that I'm passionate about.
Mm.
So it is really sad. That's kind of, the way that it's definitely pushed towards the end of schooling. I feel like the start of schooling is very necessary, but towards the end, it gets a little bit just, results focused on a piece of paper
Yeah.
rather than a bit more personal.
Yeah, I do agree. I really do think that, it's unfortunate, especially, because my brother, he's in year 12 going into this year, and just like, even hearing how different it is compared to when I graduated, like, it's a shame. Like, they should really focus on that, like year 11, 12. Okay, you do, your core subjects, English, math, science, but that should be then focused on real world things like, okay, business, how to, do real world things that you need to learn. Because most people end up finishing at 12 and they go, fuck, I don't know how to do taxes. I don't know how to,
Damn, I
you
was about to say, I wish one of my fucking teachers taught me how to do tax. I
know.
started making a shit ton of money, and then I got to owe this money. I'm like, hey, I spent 11 years with you guys,
Yeah,
and you could have at least taught me something about money. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
but now all I know is how to do some weird, freaky math equation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So annoying.
Yeah.
No, but that's really, like I said, I think it's really cool that you followed your passion, stuck to your guns, showed your parents, and went, you know what, I see, I want to lead my life how I want to leave it. I don't want to go to uni. And, you went, well, what am I spending most of my time? It's the gym. So how can I utilize that and grow something from it? And to the thing of, like you're saying, you kind of switched more to online. I think that's something that I think a lot of PTs are doing now, a lot of PT bodybuilders too, because it's just like you're saying, the easiest thing for, food timing, training. It's easy instead of being stuck in a gym, because it's great, I think, having that one-on-one interaction. But I'm sure, I was having a conversation with Tim, and, Tim McKinnon, and he was saying, like, he's like, when you're doing 40-hour days, like with people, he goes, it gets really draining. It really,
Yeah, it's draining, man. I've been there and done that, and you can't really look. There's two sides to it, really, because now I'm at a point where I can literally kind of choose who I want to train, which is great. It's at that point now where I have that premium selection of clients where maybe they're business owners, or they're busy, quite important people that just like to be told a time to rock up, to train, have a good chat, and then get the fuck out and go make money. And
yeah,
that's killer. And that's really good. But I only got there by doing 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, working from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., stuck in a gym, working around everyone else's time schedule to kind of build a rep, and to build some sort of a, yeah, like I said, reputation of being of getting results, I guess, or
yeah,
being.
that's important. You need to have a. I think a lot of people, and I think what, that's you saying that is actually really important, because I do find a lot of new coaches, they go, this online space is really important, so they will start this online business. But then the issue with that is they don't have a reputation. They haven't built that clientele base anyway. They don't necessarily have people that they can show results, and you get that from the gym. So I think it is also still important to, spend a little time in a gym, and like
I
you
think
said,
I
build.
think it's important to just, to spend time with people in general, because if you can learn people, and if you can learn to sell, especially, and if you can learn to be very personable and be people's friend,
Yeah.
it makes business a lot easier, and it makes it more comfortable for both sides of the transaction, or whatever you're talking about. So I think that really benefited me. I wouldn't go back and change it. I do think these days, um, there's a little too much entitlement in the world, and with people expecting specific things, especially in the PT game. They come out the gates, expecting to be paid this much per hour and to be this busy and to be worth that much. When I remember my first month to 2 months of PT, I remember, having had 20, 30 hour weeks go by without being paid because they were just all free
Mm.
sessions. Um, to then get somebody on and then slowly train and work up to the point where I'm at now. So I think it's super important that the grind, I'm just go with the
Yeah.
grind, is involved in everything that you do until you build something.
But it also shows you're genuine about it. Because I think if you just go in and, go, oh, well, I expect to be charged this much, this is my price. Well, it can come across like you're only focusing on the money where, you're building that better relationship with people by going, hey, I need to learn, I need to get clients, I need to get results, I need a bit of rep. I'm willing to do this for free. And like you're saying, that hustle, that grind. I think, like you're saying, a lot of people do forget about that.
They do 100%, especially in this industry. So it's good now that I've kind of built those skills, and I've done a lot of in-person real world work with people that I've gotten results with and I haven't got results with. And that's kind of built now my systems, my structures to be able to go online. And now I feel like it's more of it's online is much more comprehensive. You get a lot more. I can help people with nutrition, and I can help people with their training programs, and I can train people across the world. And it's kind of a full, how, the whole online coaching thing goes. Whereas in person, it's very hard to get a lot out of maybe a 45-minute
Yeah.
session and then not see someone for a week and just hope that they're doing the right thing. So that's where I feel like I've done fairly well now at categorizing, my in-person clients that need more of just me to be accountable to, and then my online, which is maybe people that perhaps take it a little bit more seriously, that want something a bit more comprehensive, and they can hold themselves accountable and then just show up week to week, with data and everything else
Yeah.
that they need to. Yeah.
I think that's important to differentiate between two different clients because there really is. And that's why it's cool that, you're doing online, but then you also got like that, premium package where there's certain people that just need that little bit extra attention or accountability in person, and you can deliver that.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's transfer over to your bodybuilding and being an athlete.
Yeah.
So did you do a show before your first IFBB 2018?
I
Did you
did.
do
I
any
did.
other federations?
I did one show when I was 16, I believe it was. I was 16 or 17. I did ICN.
Uh,
I did ICN men's physique, and I remember coming second in my class or something. And then that was it. And then I continued training, worked with the same coach. Dimitri Strapis is also, one of my very best mates. So
yep.
he coached me since I was very young. Was and still is a huge mentor. And coached me through the ICN show. And then after that, transitioned into IFBB when I was 18, and then did my first IFBB, I think, when I was I did my first IFBB, sorry, when I was 20. And now I've done 20 or 21. Fuck, I forgot.
Because I know you did 2021. That's when I found you. Then you did last year, this year.
Yeah, sorry. So I did 20 or 21,
Yeah.
and then I did this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done two IFBB, one RCN. That was quite a long time. Like I said, from 17 to 2021 was me just kind of building.
Yeah.
And then I did that. Yeah. And then I did that first IFBB with the same coach, Dimitri. And that got me in the game. That got me recognized a little bit. And that was really cool. And then straight after that show, we both actually made the decision together, me and Dimmy, for me to get a new coach and take things a little bit more seriously, I guess. And go on with Dean. And then from then we, blew the fuck up a little bit, and and then we jumped in. What was it this year or last year? Yeah.
Yeah, season B.
Yeah, season B. Yeah.
So first, we'll start with this. So you did men's physique in the ICN.
Yeah.
What was there a plan to follow through in the IFBB into men's physique? Did you do that, or was it always just kind of this is just my size? Okay, we can grow now. Let's go into classic.
Yeah, it was always classic. I always had big legs.
Yeah.
But it was just a fact of, I remember I was young and I was training, and I think Dimmy just said, he DM'd me. He was like, brother, you should compete. And I was like, sweet, let's do it. And I'd never had any experience. So it was honestly just like, what's the class that you're capable of doing now without being wrecked, I guess. and it was ICN at that time, so we got me pretty pilled, and I did ICN young. I think there's a few pictures up,
Did
and
you
then
place?
pardon,
Did you place at all?
second, but not in the overall with the older boys because, like I said, I was younger.
Yeah.
I think it was like top 10 in that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then came out of that, but I never ever wanted to do men's physique or be men's physique.
Yeah.
By that time, classic was kind of emerging, so I wanted to jump into eventually do classic really. Um, so that's why I spent that long building, and I've always had a big frame. So even when I did men's physique at 17, I was still like a lot bigger than most of these dudes,
Yeah.
especially no one was my age, and I was still sizing up next to guys in their 20s. So it was kind of like, okay, I was bound to get bigger.
Mm.
So then I transitioned out of ICN, went into IFBB, put on a lot of size quite quickly, and then kind of just worked towards that IFBB show with my coach when we thought we were ready, and we were just gunning towards classic because I could always pull a vacuum real young, and my legs and my broad shoulders, so it seemed to just
Create that symmetry.
yeah. So I seem to do that division quite a lot, and I've always been good at my posing. I've been very self-aware with my posing and where my body's at, and that sort of thing. That's always come quite naturally. So we threw me in that, and yeah, it went from there. So no, to answer your question, it was the men's physique was just because it's what I could do at the
What you
time,
could do.
and then we worked towards being classic, and then I just kind of got bigger and bigger from there quite quickly.
Because I remember when first saw that 2021 show, like you're saying, like you have that big frame, like you have that structure, you have those broad shoulders, you do have those wide legs, and it does play in with that illusion of that small waist. And it was just so interesting to see, like, and we'll get into that in a second, just that growth that you made with Dean. You really all of a sudden, like, you really exploded and really filled out that frame even more. And so it was just really awesome to see. So it's really even more exciting to, kind of see how that's going to then happen again, this off season that you're doing now, leading into whenever you're on stage again.
Yeah, and it already has. I've kept it quite. I don't even think I haven't posted since post comp other than me in a baggy t-shirt.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to keep it a little bit more, not even low key or on the down low for any specific reason. It's just because I'm really just in a good place right now, my groove, and sometimes I feel like social media can affect
Yeah.
that a bit. So, but man, honestly, hands down to Dean as well. Bit of a shout out because we really did go from, I think we went from my stage weight being 83, my first ever IFBB competition, to then the rebounding me and then starting a growth phase, getting me up to 112, and then being back on stage weight, this or what I just competed
Yeah.
at 100.
Wow.
So it was like it's genuine. And when I was posting my gram like 15 plus kilos is
Yeah.
insane. I don't think people actually understood how much like stage weight we actually managed to achieve.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it was tremendous. And now I'm sitting at woke up this morning 114, like relatively still good condition, much better condition than when I finished my last push at, like I said, 112 in worse condition. And we haven't actually started, the push started this week. So
That's awesome.
we're a little bit of like, fuck, how big can we get? Because
Yeah, yeah.
I still got my cutoff of
Oh,
99.8.
so that's what I was gonna ask. What is it? 99 point.
For me, it's 99.8.
99. Okay.
I'm just on that cusp of the next one though.
Mhm.
Maybe if I don't know, do a bit of stretching, I'll
That's been the latest thing with all the classic guys. Just let's stretch out a little bit so we can get.
because it's so close. So because one of other Dean's competitors, I think it was Alex, did that. And he just made it over, and you get an extra 5 or so kilos. So, but we'll make 99.8 again, pretty cruisy, I reckon. So
Yeah, even if you like you sit right on that 98, on that right on the cusp.
yeah. It would look wild because I remember we got to a low of 90. We got to a low of 94 in prep. And I was like, obviously hadn't been filled out, pretty thick skin shredded, peeled, but pretty fucked. So, and then we brought me back up slowly. And I was holding really good condition around, probably 98-ish.
Yeah.
And then maybe overspilled a tad towards the end there. But I see no problem if I maybe put on 1 or 2 kilos of muscle in this next push at getting us back down to 97-ish, 98 pre-fill up for my next comp. But yeah, so it's definitely we've kind of already done the same thing where I've come out of my comp. I'm already 14 kilos up, relatively good condition. And now we're starting to push from here. So I don't know where we'll end up, maybe 118 to 120 to who knows. But Dean always jokes around about super heavies, but I think he's like, you got a bit of a serious tone in there. And I'm like,
Never know.
yeah.
No, at least you have Dean as a coach. He's really good at what he does. He's one of the best coaches in Australia. So, at least you're in luck. You can have faith in him, and he's gonna help you bring that good best package. Because I swear that season you did, I swear Dean had the most amount of competitors that were absolutely shredded, and they won the most amount of
Yeah.
classes. That was
Yeah.
a good season for him. That 2021.
It was great. It was killer. Because that's when was that when who was that? No, that wasn't Cam George.
But
Who
that
was
because I remember Jay Hearn won his
right.
first show. George
Yep.
Cookout Juniors
Yep.
was a pretty crazy show.
Yeah, it was good. And then but yeah, he's been great in all things. He's taught me so much. And lots of things that he's very like loves this synergy between the nutrition and the PD side of things and the training and it all kind of being a very holistic overview of everything rather than just, a lot of coaches just push the drugs or push the food or push the training. And that for me, honestly, has worked wonders, obviously. And I've learned so much from him that I've taken into my own coaching, my own
Yeah,
clients as well.
that's cool. Because that was kind of what I was going to ask you was, without sharing any of Dean's secrets, what has probably been some of the biggest, I guess, things that you've taken away from him that's, I guess, helped, in that growth and helped that big change from, that first show to the 2021 to 2022?
It it sounds kind of like stupid, but it probably doesn't sound stupid to most of us bodybuilders because we're so taught to like black and white, chicken and rice, push this, push that, and go hard and no rest for the wicked, rah, rah, rah. You just die. You know what I mean? Whereas he was very like I said, it's his knowledge in how to make everything work together. So little amounts of different things to work in synergy so that you're never pushing anything too hard and therefore, getting more of a negative than you are of a positive. And I say that in, it sounds more so in drug terms, but you put it into the food as well. You're never pushing food or a specific or even a specific type of food too hard to the point where you're getting those negative returns. And the same with training. This training is very detailed, it's very specific. There's lots of work around deloading and around of fatigue management, I'd say is a strong point. I've never really done a prep so smoothly in terms of you don't actually or you shouldn't feel like you're dying,
Yeah.
the whole time. We really should be managing. And I feel like that's definitely a thing that's coming more and more to the surface in preps and coaching now. Coaches trying to manage fatigue a lot better, where we're transitioning to steps instead of getting on the step or doing cardio. We're transitioning to using drugs in lower doses and across a range of different, I guess, stimuluses in the body to try and create something that's a lot healthier and that potentially looks better than pumping one thing until maybe it's overdosing and you're getting a lot of negative return from it. Focusing on sleep, focusing on hydration, focusing on, like I said, just mitigating as much fatigue as possible. That helped a lot. And I feel like my body really responded to that well instead of fighting itself.
Yeah.
Position where I was actually just digressing because no matter what my kind of work ethic was. So that I've learned a lot from him, but he's very good at working in, what needs to get done with your lifestyle. How can we do it the easiest way, the best way, the way that least stresses you out mentally and physically? And let's just mitigate as much fatigue as we can because then you get the benefit out of everything a lot more. And everything's very he's very science backed. If it's not used clinically, then he ain't about it. Or if there's no research on it, then he doesn't want to hear about it. Or and he's also very micronutrient full on too. So there's always been a fruit goal, there's always been a veggie goal, which I've never had in my life have had with any other coaches. Or you know what I mean? What are fruits and veggie?
Yeah, I know.
So there are minimums for those sorts of things. And my digestion has never been better in and out of prep, which I feel like is a huge reason why I was able to put on so much mass and stay relatively lean is because my body just started processing everything a lot cleaner, a lot better. So for all those reasons, man, there was a lot, but for all those reasons, he's been a great coach, and I feel like it's been one of the reasons I've really been able to excel so quickly outside of me just putting my head down and saying I'm going to take it.
Yeah. No, it sounds like he's kind of, that magic formula is really just something as simple as, doing what we all try to do, but we kind of forget, which is finding that magic balance for each individual, meeting all needs, nutrition, peds, food, training, sleep, fatigue. Because I think a lot of us, like you're saying, I remember when he was posting that about that a lot. And, I think he kind of not started it, but he did make a big emphasis, and I noticed it kind of have a ripple effect that when he did a lot of stuff to do with the deloading, like that became really big when he kind of started speaking about, after 6 weeks, okay, that's a deload, and that was his deload was just taking the whole week off.
Yeah.
That's something that I've implemented, and I've noticed that I push it a bit too long, so I do need to get in a better routine of, okay, 6 weeks then deload, but it definitely makes a difference.
Definitely taught me to listen the hell to my body for sure. And that has prevented so many more injuries. If I look back year to year to year, the time I'd worked with him was the time my body has functioned the best. I've had the least amount of injuries. And he's very much so about longevity, especially for me. There'd obviously be times where you push a client a bit more or a bit less or whatever. But because he, I think, does see, potentially some potential in me for the future, he does always remind me that it's longevity here. We're not trying to, you want to be in this game a long time, well, then we're going to do things properly. And I feel
You're
like,
young, man. You're young. You got lots of that's the thing. You have the time to, so there's no point not focusing on the longevity.
yeah, exactly. So that's been that's been killer. That's been really good.
No, it's really cool. It's really cool to see. I think it's very important. I think it also shows the difference in that old school way of coaching, old school way of thinking, that, bro science, to like kind of this new school, which is then, I think it's great because then the more clients he has, or, the more influence, or other people like Dean that coach like that, then, you can take that on and then share your clients. And it's kind of, we've seen it in the past couple of years, the coaching business and the way, coaches approach athletes is starting to slowly change. And, people and athletes are getting better and making more improvements because they're not, killing themselves from that old school view.
That's it. Because even if I dive into my recent prep, I didn't do cardio the whole time. I think we titrated my steps up to 12 or 13K a day.
Yeah.
And then even that at a point got a little bit too. I've always been like this though. So just speaking personally, I get it. I can get lean quite quickly. So we don't need to normally do so much cardio or get the food to tremendously low amounts. But we didn't have to push steps further than 13K. And I remember him putting in the elliptical, which I'd never done before. And I thought was kind of stupid being on the elliptical.
Yeah.
But after I did it for like, 10, 15 minutes, I was like, I'm getting into this. But I remember probably doing the elliptical. I think he once programmed it in 2 or 3 times a week, at a calorie goal of 200 until we pulled that too. Which is, was unheard of to me because it was like, well, the second you hit 12 weeks out, it's 6 times a week, step of 45 minutes. That's what it is. So I think where the differentiating views come from are that you actually do get results doing both things. But I don't think the argument is in the result. I think it's in, okay, well, if we can get to this result being healthier, and you're going to live longer and be in the sport longer, why don't we do that? So I think the people for the old school stuff, for the hours on the stepper, on the pushing the drugs or whatever, it still gets the same result. So cool. So it's not really it's an argument of does it work or doesn't it work, because they both work. Starving someone works or not starving someone works. But it's just about having the education, the tools, the resources to be able to do it the other way and have someone be healthier, say post a competitive season, which I think is really something quite special because it's always been quite an unhealthy sport for that reason. You even take CBum, we take it to the next level. His preps with Ian, we've seen haven't been that very, I'm going to say, healthy.
Yeah.
He's posted the calories he's gone on, the amount of cardio he's been doing, the amount of stress that would have put in his body. and now making that switch to honey, it seemed what he put out or portrayed was a much smoother prep, and I know he was getting fed a lot more. So it's like if someone has those tools and those resources, it's something quite cool to be able to still get the same result and be a healthier individual at the end of it all.
Yeah, I think that, like you're saying, that is the most important thing, that reminder of healthiness and longevity, because I think it's that mentality of we have to suffer to succeed. But it's like we can suffer, but we can still suffer and be healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Going into the state show, I just wanted to, because that was the original thing that we, I wanted to have a talk to you about. Um, you going up against Jamie, and it's been funny to kind of see. I know for some reason people think you have beef with him. It's the,
No,
and I
yeah.
love it because, like, I swear you're signed to vice versa, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I did. I'm not anymore, but that wasn't for beef
Yeah,
purposes. It's literally like I had another what I thought good opportunity come my way. And
yeah,
I wanted to kind of approach it. So I approached Jamie about it quite civilly. He said, brother, like honestly, you got to go for things in the
yeah,
industry. I'm in the same position as you, crack at it. I'll always be here. It was, we come from the same fucking state. It's cool. We're casual. We're
yeah,
chill. And then that ended up falling through. I just didn't really like the term, so I didn't go ahead with it because I'm quite picky in that sense. And I honestly just like it was essentially nothing personal to anyone other than being personal to me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just don't want to be signed to anyone at the moment. Like I don't want to feel the pressures of posting. I don't want to feel the pressures of being anywhere. I don't want to feel the pressure of being locked to one brand if I want to try another one. I'm just in that state of my career where I would rather make maybe less money from upselling products, but just be able to enjoy what I
yeah,
want to take when I want to take it. So that was the only reason. And I mean, from that, people like to stir a lot of shit on the gram and
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
But
yeah. I just,
um,
I just thought it was just the funniest thing because I remember he's been doing a lot of Q&As in his story, and a couple of people have been chiming, "Oh, I heard you got beef with Cam," and I'm just like, "This is the funniest thing."
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't even know what that's about, but it was cool being up there with him for sure. And another one of um my mate Sammy, he was at Sammy Zest, he was up there. We all had a ball, so it was fun. It was good.
What what was the judges' feedback? Because
Honestly, I didn't actually I didn't get any. It was I tried to get it, but there was just some talk about me just having to rock up at nationals and it'll be different there. I apparently, according to the judges, suited the classic look what they said the most on stage, but then it was left in Tony's court to make the decision. So um that was that for the stage show. So I just popped it on the chin and took that as me not being good enough. And we had more work to do, and we tried to improve, didn't quite improve from show to show, and then get the result we did in nationals. But it was, if anything, I think I pulled from one of the judges that were on the panel. I could have been a bit harder through my upper, a little
okay,
bit harder, a little bit fuller. I looked a little. I was definitely by the time because I did juniors and then I did classic,
yeah,
and in juniors I did quite. It's probably the best I've ever looked. I was quite hard. I was quite full. I looked good. I could have potentially been a bit fuller, but it was still awesome to step on stage. For the first category that day and look what I thought was my best look. So I was quite happy with that. And then as the day went on, the hours went on, and it being a little bit difficult liaising with Dean, him being overseas and a few other things, and some rushing backstage, I flattened out quite quickly and um don't know, started just started getting a little bit watery and maybe stressed.
yeah, yeah.
Lots of different things. I didn't quite look as good in my upper because that's where most of the times it gets pulled from. As I did come in classic, in juniors, that was another thing that they said. Sorry, they did say you came out looking better in juniors
Mhm.
and came out looking worse in classic.
Yeah.
Not that you were the worst, but because we saw a better version of you, we were comparing.
Okay.
There was that too, which is why Dean and actually I made the decision nationals not to
Not to
do.
do it. Yeah, because so that's interesting because I remember when you came out in juniors, I was shocked. I was like, oh. okay, fair enough, why not? Fuck it, do it. And then, so then when it came to classic, and then because it to me it was either or, like you or Jamie winning. Like I was just kind of like, you're both amazing. Like whoever's gonna get it gets it. Um, and so it's interesting to hear then that follow through, because then when nationals happened and then I was expecting you to be in juniors.
Everyone was, eh?
Yeah, and you didn't do it, and I was like, oh fuck, okay,
All the
fair enough,
juniors
fair
came up
enough.
to me after and they were like, "Oh, where were you? Like, we wanted you up there." I was like, "Nah, let you boys take it out this year." And I said back. It was honestly in my mind with like no ego attached to it. It was honestly like a bit of a risk to
Yeah,
take again. And I thought, look, for a title that I didn't think was quite worth it over Classic potentially to me in my eyes, because that's obviously we're all gunning for a top shot, a top place.
yeah,
So we're all gunning for first, and we all think we can get first. And I think I can get first in juniors, and I think I can get, but then that potentially flattened me out and worsened me for the rest of the day, as we saw over in the state show, versus maybe being staying a little bit fuller and mitigating whatever kind of worries we had up until Classic and then getting a better result in Classic. We just said, you know what, fuck it, that outweighs it. Let's go all in.
yeah,
So we just said goodbye to juniors, and I'm still young enough to do juniors again if I want.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's really, and it didn't really, it's not my end goal. We were thinking more end goal rather than something acutely where it's like,
And
okay, what's your goal? Is your goal a pro card? Or is your goal to be the junior champ for a year until you compete again? Like, what's the
And I
what
think
are
I think I think that's important, and that's why it's good that you had the fun, you gave it a go, but then you saw the repercussions of that at the state show. So it's interesting to know if you didn't do juniors, and as the day progressed, would you not have flattened out, and then would you have just edged over Jamie in for the
yeah.
overall? So, because then like the national classic lineup that was fucked. Like that was a lot of top
It
competitors,
was a
but
lot, yeah.
I was still surprised to see you third in that call out. Like props to Peter from coming over from men's physique to classic, and he looked phenomenal. But I when I found out you were in the call out with Coben and that, I was expecting to really be between you and him.
Yeah, it really was the whole time, and then I'm not sure what happened. And again, man, it's bodybuilding. We're all up against each
Yeah.
other. But I mean, it was really Coben and I kind of face to face the whole time, and then Peter got thrown in. And I don't really know the bloke, but like, good on him. But I was shit ton more peeled.
Yeah.
Um, and it really was a battle between me and Coben. And then I don't even know what happened, but then obviously I came in third and he came in second. Um, so that's another thing at these shows. It's very you get mixed signals and you kind of get thrown around a lot, and a lot of it is it's very just like biased one way or the other way or political or whatever it is.
It's
But it's I just see it as if you're not trumping the competition, or you're not significant enough to just be the best and everyone knows, then there's work to be done. And I don't really take anything personally. Do you know what I mean? I don't really get cut about not coming second if I came third, or not coming fifth if I came sixth. Whatever, you're still not first.
yeah.
So
And I think
yeah,
that's the best way to look at it, because there's something that, I've been talking to a lot of people about, and something that I've noticed is just there is a bit of inconsistency at the moment. And I'm hopefully it will change in this upcoming season, but there seems to be a bit of inconsistency with the judging, whether it's at a state show or at a national show. And that's for all divisions. But like you're saying, I think the main thing is it's just that mindset of, if I didn't bring a package that doesn't get first place, like it doesn't fucking matter. Whatever. Whether, like you're saying, whether I'm third, second, sixth, fifth, it is what it is. It's just what the judges have said.
exactly right. And we definitely came in, and I would say semi achieved the goal, which was to be a lot fuller than state. I was definitely one of the biggest up there, but then that overspilled a bit, on the top half, and um, a few other things. One of the facts of the show being fucking 4 hours late that day, and just a bunch of other shit that really threw off our game plan. And again, it was the first time I'd ever worked with an international coach, and that's something very new for me. I'm very conditioned to having someone here with me, kind of looking at
Yeah.
things, having that in person eye. And luckily, Dimitri, who I was talking to you about, the first half of this, he was there and he's always given me good advice, and he was a good reporter in a
Yeah,
sense
yeah.
to
A good middleman, kind of like whatever his name is, Julius for Ian and Patrick.
exactly, yeah, to try and help out, because Dimmy really knows my body too, so he knows if things were going a little bit one way or the other way. So that was a good help backstage to make some calls on the spot that we had to make. But I mean, yeah, it was one of those things that I'd gone from not placing the nationals before that in the Open Classic lineup to being third in my class. So that in and of itself is quite a lot of progress. And now I guess I'm just excited to see what I can do with another 8 months up my sleeve and a second round with Dean, because we have to also take into consideration that, as much as I can be upset about specific things and some peaking, it was my first fucking year with the lad, and
Yeah,
he got me this far.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's cool, and it's like, well, let's have another crack at it. You're never gonna nail that first time unless it's a fluke. Um, there are some things now that he's learned about my body. There are some levels now that we know we can push, and some barriers as well we know we can't push. So with that in mind, and then him being a bit of a freak, as well as another 8 months under our sleeve, I I have no doubts that we'll be able to come in, you know, a lot better, or at least just a lot sharper than my last
And
package.
I think that's super important, that reflection of, really looking at the bigger picture and not being as close-minded, going, hey, been with him for a year, he's now learned my body. We've done a prep. Okay, cool. Now he can really, and look at what, like you're saying, the progress we made in that time period. Okay, fuck, what are we going to do? Now it's coming into a second year together. And then that simple progression of, I think sometimes people focus on, fuck, I didn't get the placing that I want, but it's more about, the progression. And that was, something I said to my friend who competed too at in the juniors. He didn't get the placing that he wanted, but it's that, where did you place this show compared to when you first did your show? He went from like seventh to, fourth. So it's just like the same thing. You didn't place at the last nationals, but this nationals, you placed third. So it's that little bit of progression each time. I think it's different if you did the same, then you're kind of like, fuck, okay, what
Exactly.
did I do wrong?
Yeah, and we you also don't know everyone's story and how long they've been progressing or training themselves. And if you take into, I could even just put it into my perspective. Whereas if I jumped up from not placing to being third, if you can duplicate that again, well, then you're first.
Yeah.
Really. So it's always just about having a mindset of, like you said, progression and loving the journey, and the lead up to being where you're going to be, and then you just obviously gunner and aim your best to just beat your previous you. And you can never be dissatisfied if that's your mindset. If you are only ever thinking about a medal or a placing or a number, 100 times out of 100, you will be dissatisfied. Always. Because there's going to be you don't have any self-worth, you don't be proud of yourself or anything. So that's something I definitely have taken in. And obviously an L is still an L, but when we think of it in that perspective, and also me being the youngest up there,
Yeah.
like that too, I'm being beat by dudes that are like 28 and like,
The
20,
veterans.
26 upwards, and I'm 22, just 22. Um, it's like, well, yeah, again, that perspective. Look how far you've come from, I go back to 17 to 20, and then 20 to 22, and now placing top three at a national level, in a year and a half time frame. Well, dude, wait till you're 23 and then give it another crack and see what
Yeah.
happens.
And it's just that thing of like, reality is, it's the muscle maturity and and that conditioning and that
Yeah,
stuff unfortunately doesn't come. It only comes in age. So you what can you do about that? But like you're saying, placing at that thing, and I think also whether you think this, and obviously it's my personal opinion, but I think other people do agree with this, and that's in Australia, because we only have two shows a year. We have our top amateurs for each division, and it's kind of just like who's going to hit that 100% mark. It's like, let's say 5 people for each division. That's the list, and it's just like any of these guys could be a pro, but it's just like who hit the mark on that day. And in my opinion, I think you're definitely up there. With people like Jamie, with people like Coben, Joe, who lost to Matt and stuff. So even Daniel. So I think realizing, fuck, I'm 22. I can be considered or be seen up in that top and
yeah,
amateur. world's really your oyster, so
Cool.
much opportunity.
It's definitely cool. And, it's cool to have, you know, good rapport with these guys too. They're also supportive. They're all, we backed each other going in. Me and Coben were chatting all the way through. Jamie, even Lewis, all these different boys from all these different categories were all hyping each other going all the way through the show. So it's cool to get there. And they were all my inspos. Like I've been following
Yeah,
Coben since I was fucking like 14 or something. Same as most of them. And now I'm up there and I'm like standing next to him on stage. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, I'm trying to knock you off the spot kind of thing. It's cool. It was definitely when I came to that realization in prep, I think it was roughly maybe like 4 or 3 weeks out. It was almost another kick of like motivation for me. It was definitely a cool perspective to have that. I remember so vividly not long ago looking at my Instagram or going to train after looking at one of their photos and being like, oh, one day I'll be there or whatever, not knowing where they would be, let alone now being on the same stages. And that's been really cool. And that's something I definitely have a lot of gratitude for as well.
I 100% understand that so much because I feel like sometimes I come across like I'm just kind of dick riding everyone, but that's not the case. Like just like you're saying, like I've been looking up to all you guys and the people I'm talking to through this podcast and that for like ages since I've been a teenager. And like so being able to actually kind of talk to you guys and all that. And it's just like you're saying, it's crazy. Like I'm always seeing you on social media, been following you all, and then it's fuck, I'm like actually talking to you. So I can only imagine what that would be like then stepping on stage with them. That's like in another level.
Crazy. It's cool, bro. Like I've never really experienced this level. It just gets me excited for the future because obviously I'm going to keep having a crack at this until I get where I want to be. And I know all these guys probably are too. So it's really cool to be now up on their level in the amateur level and being one of their potential, oh fuck, what my comp is Cam this year or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's kind of cool to know. So and just the networking you get for it, man. I had names that again I've been looking up to since I was a teenager, DMing me, big names in the IFBB, that were like, dude, saw you on stage, keep having at it. I remember when I was you and this was my scenario, just
Cool.
keep positive. And it's like, fuck, that's sick, man. Just the
Yeah.
fact that sport can bring so many people together like that. Even though it is individual, it really isn't at all. Where it's such a big community and help of people, and you can't get through a prep alone as well. So not even taking into account the
Support
community,
network.
the sport network you have behind you. It really is such a it's a cool sport like that. Really,
Yeah.
when you get amongst everyone.
It's definitely something that I think a lot of outsiders don't realize. Like it is such a really community based, and there is a lot of support. Once you kind of, I think, once you step on stage, you get your name out there. Everyone's who loves the sport sees you. Whether you did really well, you didn't hit the mark like you wanted to, but it's that all of a sudden being welcomed into the community because you only hear about all positive stories about backstage and meeting other athletes, and that's why everybody loves nationals because you're finally seeing people from different states.
Yeah,
It's such a beautiful thing that I think because a lot of people that don't because I work at retail at the moment. A lot of people, and when they're like, oh, what do you do outside of work and stuff? I'm like, oh, I bodybuilder, and they're like, oh, you just eat chicken and rice and you train. I'm like, yeah, but it's more than that. Like, there's a community.
I know. It is like that. It's just a bit like meatheady. Like, hey, cool, you go lift weights. So do I. What do you actually do? It's like,
Yeah,
nah. You know what I mean? But it's definitely, and I feel like bodybuilding is one of the few things that we all experience the same shit going through it. We all get the same emotions. We all get the same relationship problems. We all get the same, you know, health problems or the same this
yeah,
and that. It's like we all can just relate so much that if we could all just really, be there for each other or provide support when need be, it can be a really cool thing. And then, like you said, walking backstage and being like, oh, like I've been looking at you on the gram for 12 weeks and now you're in my face. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. You know what I mean?
it's such a
So
cool thing.
yeah, it's dope like that. I'm pretty keen to keep at it.
That's good. Like I said, you're young and you're young. You're with a good coach. It's just see where the journey takes you. Really, each year, as long as you continue to progress and improve, you're going to reach your goals eventually. you showed that you can do it with the coaching and the online business, and showing, hey, I don't need to go to uni, I can make a business, I can be richer than the teachers that taught me that said I wouldn't be anything. And now you just copy that over to being an athlete.
Exactly right. And I've always had that mindset. So I mean, last year was a real confidence booster for me in terms of testing the waters of what would happen if I went super hard with my business side of things, and what would happen if I went pretty hard with my coaching with Dean and committing to someone to showing up every single week and giving them back what they ask for and seeing how much progress I can make, and then how that transfers to being on stage. And I feel like I definitely, I couldn't look back and say I could have done anything better than I did. And it's given me the confidence I need. This run in the comps this year was a bit of, okay, do I have a place? Do I not have a place? Am I going to be someone? Am I not going to be someone? Where do my genetics fall? And all that sort of thing. And I feel like it's definitely given me a bit of a like secure green flag to give it a red hot kind of go and see what happens.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
one last question before we wrap things up. I guess, is there like, what would be your piece of advice? Like, just any piece of advice, any life advice, any bodybuilding gym for, I guess, anyone listening, that something okay, maybe something that has resonated with you the most throughout your journey so far, bodybuilding, online coaching, that you would just like to, share.
That's a big one, dude. I'm probably going to steer away from any sort of bodybuilding specific things, and more so because, like I said, I deal with a lot of people in person. I feel like a very, very common thing is, people doing things not for themselves, but to please other people.
Yeah.
And it goes right back to my schooling. It goes right back to what started this whole thing. I could give a bunch of fucking advice, but I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't the kid that stood up for myself and said, no, I have an idea, I have a passion, and I'm going to make it work regardless of what, anybody tells me. So I would really encourage anybody out there. I preach this to my clients, I preach this to my friends, and I've been the kind of result of what I'm saying, to just, if you're passionate about something, go the fuck all in on it and don't worry about what anyone says. Because if you are truly passionate about something, people will sense that in your voice. They'll feel it in your energy. They'll see it in the work that you put into something. And the money will come. The monetary, that side of things will flow through once you get really good at something, and when we can really help other people with what you're good at. But just don't do shit for other people. Honestly, do your own thing and follow through. Commit to your word and follow through.
Nah, I love that. I love that. I think it's super important, because, like, how I see it is, some people, we tend to think it's selfish. We get full in that trap, like you're saying, of doing things for other people, or doing things that we think we want to do, but in reality it's just pleasing others. And we think if we do what we actually want to do, we're being selfish, but it's not, man. It's like kind of in some way self-love, doing what you want to do.
100%, man. People getting millions of dollars for posting fucking videos on YouTube that mean nothing. You know what I mean? Or someone's behind a camera building Lego, and someone's keen for the next Lego upload, getting paid $1 million to do that. But
Yeah.
yet we're being pushed to study and study and study, and a lot of times do things that we hate or don't like to do for a reputation, or maybe it looks good for your parents, or maybe you don't want to disappoint them or let you down. Lots of different things. I do, though, back what I'm saying with, if you're going to do this, then fucking show up and prove to people that you're going to do it. Don't give your parents sass for not wanting to go to uni, but then let them put a roof over your head, pay for your phone bill, and pay for your car. That's not fair. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to go do something, then go fucking do it, and go prove to yourself that you can hold your own, and you can be independent, and you can be responsibility and take up responsibility, because I think that's probably the most important thing that the youth really need right now, is more responsibility and less entitlement. And then go ahead and go prove what you said you were going to do. Don't be half-assed about it and be like, well, I want to live under your roof, but I don't want to follow your rules, kind of thing. You really have to
Accountability.
have to hold yourself accountable. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to do something out of the norm, then you're going to act out of the norm, and you're going to mature up real quick. But I encourage everyone of any fucking age to do what makes them happy, and go all in on that. and try and help people in the process. Be a kind person, be a loving person, help people in the process. And I promise you that will get you anywhere you want to be in, probably in places you didn't ever think you could fucking be making money, then giving up that for trying to please someone else for whatever reason. So that would probably be my one piece of advice, is that got me the furthest and allowed me to learn the most and network the most, and then take in more than I know now. That's probably my piece of advice.
No, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate that. I like that. That's a really good one. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me on here, bro. I've loved every second of it. I love chats like this, and I really appreciate the time you've taken out to have me on and kind of hear my story. And it's been good to kind of put a face to the name as well with you and have a chat with you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And 100%, I'd love to get you back on leading into, your next show, and hopefully we can get the timing a bit better, and we can have a chat about your prep leading into, whenever we see you back on stage, man. Until then, keep growing.
I think I'm going to surprise. I think I'm going to surprise attack my next show, to be honest. I reckon I'm going to keep it pretty on the down low, on the low key. But I'll keep you up to date. So I'll DM you when I'm a few weeks out, and then we can get me on and see what happens.
Perfect. And I'll drop it like right before you step on stage, the day before.
Yeah, you gotta hold it off.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Have a good rest of the day.
You too. Ciao, brother.